back to Build It Yourself. In this video, we're gonna turn this into this. All right, we got it all mocked up in cardboard. Everything looks good. Got a few angles we're gonna be doing. We mounted the shifter here like stock, meaning underneath the sheet metal. So that's gonna get mounted there. It feels like it's in a decent position. Everything actually fits the way we would hope it would. We got a couple things on the metal to clear up, but it's time to turn this thing into some sheet metal. You got enough lines there? You know which one you're gonna cut?
Not yet. I think I'm gonna draw a couple more just to cross them off later.
Before starting, we drew a profile to cut material out of the driver's side floor for better fitment to the tunnel. The passenger side needed only a little cleanup to get it ready. We whipped out the air saw to cut clean lines, but ended up using the reciprocating saw in areas with multi-layers. With that out of the way, we transferred our cardboard template to the sheet metal and cut our pieces out with the plasma cutter using some angle iron as a guide for straight lines. So we took off this piece of cardboard and we're transferring it to the metal and got it cut out. Let's see how Diego's moving along with this part.
Well, we just cut it up now. I just marked all the bends, but before we start bending it, we're gonna add a little bit of pizzazz. So we're gonna pull out the bead roller again and add some shapes.
You love that bead roller. What do you got designed here for us this time?
Still not sure what the final design is, but
boy.
Something like this. These are supposed to be beads, and then these are the pockets, steps, whatever you call them. So
these are pretty small areas.
yeah, they are. So we're gonna have
draw
to
on a scale.
No. I mean, no. We don't have beads this big, so we'll
make
see what we can
something
do
work.
with it.
Right.
Yeah. So we're gonna try something a little different with this panel. We're trying to do beads across bends, which we haven't done before. So we're gonna grab this little piece here. We're gonna do a little practice.
We're gonna be bending around this exhaust pipe. So
It's gonna be our
this will be our first time really doing bends, not to make a flange. So
right. Yeah, we can't use hammers with this because we actually need a nice smooth curve. So,
but yeah, we want to get spicy and add a flange, or what do you call it, a roll, a bead, and then bend the bead. Chaos Design channel has some pretty cool sheet metal stuff, and she was rolling beads and then post bending, so we want to try it too. Ooh, buddy, King digging in the house over here. What's going on? This is
looks like all that practice with the firewall helped out.
Yeah, like look at you started and ended here much better than with the firewall.
We ended up using a wooden rod to form our bends instead of an exhaust pipe in order to get a tighter bend radius. We used a pair of C-clamps to hold down the rod against the sheet metal, and we pushed up as close to the bend as we could. We used a cheap Harbor Freight angle finder to set the angle we wanted and just continued bending the part until we matched the angle. Turns out bending around the bead wasn't as difficult as we thought.
See how she fits. Not too shabby.
With the first piece fitting right and tacked in place, we moved on to the next part of the tunnel. We needed to do a bit more cleaning up on the sides, so while Jack was doing that, I went ahead and made a new template out of cardboard using the first sheet metal piece to mark the location of the bends and features we needed to add.
Looks good. I mean, should be where we cut the next piece of metal out of. Looks like it's fairly tight in here, but this whole thing is tight. I like them tight.
Eso es lo que dice él.
We got this board setting the top of it and everything is lining up good. So this is gonna get like that, and then this second piece we were talking about, because it's gonna take some
some figuring out to get it narrower, but I think we're gonna make this like this.
All right, well, we got our mock-up piece here with all the shapes. We're happy with that. So Jack is getting the Pasma clutter. Wow.
Pasma clutter.
Pasma clutter. Where did that come from?
Okay, the page.
Jack is working on the Jack is working on the plasma cutter to get the shape out of here, and we got the NFC game going. That means it's gonna be a long night, so hope you're ready, buddy. While the overall shape of this piece was straightforward, the difficult part was getting all the bends and beats to line up with the first piece. So before doing the whole piece, we bent one side and tested the alignment. To our surprise, it was spot on. All right, fully bent. What's the verdict?
That's pretty damn good.
Yeah, the beats line up pretty well. Our bends line up good. It's got that OEM feel.
That OEM Plus.
OEM Plus feel. All right, so we're gonna clean up the sheet metal and then give it a couple tacks, and we can move on to the third and second to last piece.
So we got this weird section going on here. This one is really testing our origami skills.
We're trying to convert, you know, we're changing shapes from piece to piece. Like it's a much smaller, much narrower tunnel because we don't need to package around a big transmission anymore. So we need to close this gap with a smaller piece, and we tried something here.
We got the flying geese. I mean, it looks like it's working.
Yeah, it looks like it's gonna work. I mean, we gotta bend here, we gotta bend here, we gotta bend here, and then we still have to add all the sexy shapes.
Yeah. Wait, we're gonna do sexy shapes here?
Yeah, we have to.
Look how small everything.
I know, but we have to continue, right?
Okay.
At least these.
So
we're gonna probably make another piece, just clean it up a little bit.
We're gonna make 10 other pieces.
Yeah, and then start cutting metal.
While it didn't quite take 10 tries, we were finally able to cut out a piece and start figuring out the bends. We had 3 bends that merged in one corner, so we weren't sure how it would turn out. We followed the same method as we did with the first 2 pieces of bending around the wooden rod, and we quickly found out we needed to rethink our design.
Oh my god.
We've come to our sheet metal ability end. We've hit the...
We try to do a little bit too much, and this is what we got. So we got a little too cocky with bends and...
Yeah, I think we have a plan. I don't know why we bent inwards with this, so we're gonna try just imagine putting a square plate over this and growing that out. So mock it up.
We gotta redraw the shapes because bending about it just didn't come out good. So
we gotta make a new cardboard, I think.
oh yeah,
right?
okay.
So
All right, back to cardboard.
Back to CAD.
All right, so it looks like we're switching gears here. We kind of know how that middle piece or transition piece needs to look like, but it's gonna have to be a little more complicated than we thought. We have decided that we're gonna make this piece first. That's gonna essentially tell us what the end or what the cut of that shape needs to be, and all we're gonna have to do is make a piece that essentially closes whatever gap we have at the end. So we got our new cardboard piece here. This is the idea. So we're gonna have essentially 2 bends. This lower bend should follow this body line or this original tunnel angle. This is gonna come straight up so that this surface, the surface that the shifter is going to mount to, sits flush with the rest of the tunnel we've made. This is obviously too long up front, but that piece that we have to make to transition from this shape to this one is going to dictate where we're going to cut this last piece. So this gets us in the ballpark, and we can start working on this and then the last piece to finish it off.
This piece was a piece of cake. We got the metal cut, rolled, and bent in very little time. We also cleaned up a few areas of the tunnel to close some gaps and make it easier to weld. We transferred the shifter hole from our cardboard template and cleaned up some of the corners where we had extra material. Once we were happy with the fitment, we tacked it in place and gave it a good tug.
Solid?
I don't know, when I'm banging those gears, I don't
I'm
think
not
she's
gonna be
gonna...
banging any gears with that MT82. So,
What's wrong with the MT82, dude?
everything.
MT82 gang. What's up?
Here's the idea with this piece. As you can see, because of the position of the tunnel, this piece is actually offset with the rest of the tunnel. That was intentional. So this piece is not going to be symmetrical, but the idea is we're going to bridge this part to this one, and the way we're going to do that is by having these panels on the corners. So we're going to follow the bend here, follows from here to there, and this extra bend here goes all the way to the top. In this panel, once it's sitting flush, you can see it closes that gap. So then we're going to draw the outline of this panel on this side, and we're going to cut all the extra material on both sides, and then we're going to put this, well, make this out of sheet metal, put it in here, tack it, and that should be about everything we have to do for the tunnel, except for the little cap here that we have to make last piece before we can weld everything into the car and finish with those two panels. So I think we're happy with the way this fits. Let's make this into sheet metal.
After a few final adjustments in CAD, it was time to transfer the shape to sheet metal. While Diego worked on getting that ready, I took some time to look at the Continental center console to see what will be needed to get this to fit over the new tunnel and looking as stock as possible. It looks like there's a lot of empty space in here, so let's take this apart and see what we have to work with. Who knew a center console could have so many parts? I think I have an idea on how to get this to fit, but we'll get to that in a later video. For now, let's get back to finishing the sheet metal. With the piece cut out and bent, we marked the areas that needed to be cut before welding the new piece in. This time, it fit like a glove. So we tacked it in place, and we can start to see how this thing will finally look.
So we got the transition piece put in, spot welded in a little bit, and it actually fit pretty well.
Took a long time.
Yeah, this one was definitely the hardest piece of them all.
Yeah, it's a lot of shapes that we have to try and match, a lot of hammering, grinding, but now it's, you know, the transmission tunnel actually starting to take shape.
Yeah.
It looks really, really good. I think I'm
looks
really
pretty
happy
good.
how it came out. So now we only have one piece left, which is this end cap. I'm gonna start working on it while Jack starts welding the tunnel. So we got a lot of welding.
One eternity later.
All right, guys. How was all that welding? Smell
Not
good?
fun.
Jack got it all welded up to the body. So the transmission tunnel, it's nice and solid. The shifter, we still have to figure out the mounting. It's gonna be somewhere around here.
Are we gonna add the stiffening?
Yeah, I mean, for sure we're gonna add one here, right?
Yeah, for the shifter. For
And then
sure.
maybe one somewhere over there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty solid, but you know, we're just gonna add some ribs to reinforce it a little more.
Like a 1/8" steel hoop.
Right, like a hoop. We still have to work on the last firewall pieces, which Jack already started on one.
Oh, we still got a bead roll.
Yeah, we still have to add
Fancy
the shapes.
These panels.
It's just gonna be two flat panels. We're gonna cut them to shape around the transmission tunnel and weld them to the rest of the body.
Easy peasy.
Mr. President over here cut out the second panel, and after cleaning the edges, it was ready to be test fitted to the car and onto the bead roller for some more shapes. Then it was finally time to close the dash panel for good. We also capped off the transmission mounts we made in the last video. Alright guys, well, we're pretty much done with welding. So we finished welding the two plates at the bottom. Jack got that all out of the way. This shifter reinforcement bracket now is welded, so
We have to drill that out still. Right?
yeah. Now we can mark the holes because I drilled holes on the tunnel, so we know where the holes need to be. We'll drill those out, and we'll be able to mount the transmission and shifter. So the next step is going to be grinding a little bit of the front, so Jack already started. So we welded these panels all the way on the top here to the cross member, and our plan was to grind everything smooth like this, so that once it's finished, the cross member and these panels and the tunnel kind of look like one piece. This is still going to have that seam, but these, the purpose was to make them look like one. We've already started grinding a little bit, so we'll probably have to add a little bit of putty on some of these lines, but once it's all painted, you won't even tell the difference. So,
and then we have to seam seal all that, right? So
yeah, so we got some 3M seam sealer that we're gonna apply to all the gaps, all the seams. This will be completely sealed. So, as you can see, we're starting to primer the dash here. So we've already done one round of Bondo and sanding, so it's starting to take shape. You can see the goal is to make this as smooth as possible.
we have to get the engine back in.
Yeah, so we're gonna finish all this stuff, primer it, get the engine back in, get it sitting on the suspension in its own weight again, just because it's been a while and we miss seeing it looking like an actual car.
All right, so we got to seam seal all our welds and everything, so we make sure we don't get any water into the car. We're going to be using this 3M urethane seam sealer. This is the good stuff. It's not cheap, but hopefully it gives us a professional looking result. Or we want to try to get the look of the OEM seam seal, which has like some ripples in it. So 3M has like a video that shows how they modified the tip to give us that look. So this is the tip we're going to be using. It's just a modified of the original tip. We cut the tip at 30 degrees with a very sharp knife and then smashed and repeatedly bend this to give us that shape, and that'll allow us to lay out a nice white bead with the ripples in there. So let's try it out and see what it looks like. So we just push the tip up here against this, and then slowly squeeze and give it like. So that's kind of the plan. This area, this got too smooth, so I don't think I was pushing enough out, but we'll practice that a little more. But that's the plan for that. And then outside corners, we just got a brush and had to cut the bristles a little shorter because you need good stiffness. This stuff is very thick, so your brush has to have good stiffness, and then we'll brush it into any inside corners or anything on the inside of the car to make sure it's sealed from the inside. And this is just for the outside to make sure it looks good. So we're going to go ahead and do that. We got a lot of areas. So the plan is not to do anything on this corner, but all of these seams, we'll do it from here inside and here. And then on the inside of the car, we'll brush it into the inside corners and make sure everything's sealed up nice. It should be good.
We started off in the back and ran the beads down the full length of every seam. Using the flattened tip and the back and forth motion, it came out looking nice and rippled, pretty similar to the OE sealer. We were happy with how it looks, especially for it being our first time applying the stuff. For some of the inside corners, we put down tape on either side of the gap and spread the sealer with our finger to get an even bead. The tape really helped in keeping the excess sealer from going all over the panels and gave a clean, finished look. On the interior, we ran a solid bead across all seams. We used the shortened brush dipped in some mineral spirits to brush the sealer. The mineral spirits helped to spread it a little smoother.
Good luck, water. Good luck, water. So that's all sealed. Every single seam underneath the subframe or the cross member, transmission tunnel. We added a little bit more around the dash. Everywhere that we had a seam has been sealed inside and outside. So there's no water getting in here.
99 problems, but water ain't one.
Water ain't one. So this says we're supposed to let it cure for 30 minutes and then you can spray over it. So we're probably gonna jump back to the outside. It's been well over 30 minutes. It's nice and tacky. It doesn't get stuck in your fingers anymore. So we bought some high filler primer and we're just gonna go to town, cover everything, and kind of go on to the next thing. With a fresh coat of primer, the new tunnel and dash were done and looking amazing. Now, it's time to get the engine and transmission back in the car and see how good everything looks together. This almost turned into a disaster very quickly. Thankfully, there was no damage to the engine, so we got it back up off the floor, secured it a bit better this time, and positioned it to lower the car and secure the subframe in place. Here it is, guys. Once again, the car is sitting on
It's
its own
nice
way.
to see it back down.
It finally looks like a car again. We just spent, what, like the last month and a half working on sheet metal with the car completely taken apart. Finally looks like a car again. The engine fits nice. The sheet metal, the transmission tunnel, it all came out really good. So we're really happy with the way this turned out.
Should be enough room for headers, hopefully, but
On this side for sure. This side is gonna be a little bit trickier.
yeah, there's our bearing.
Shaft here, so steering is done. We got all that assembled. The inside,
And it looks OEM.
yeah, it looks OEM, right? We're really done with sheet metal at this point. We gotta start figuring out accessories. So the next big thing is gonna be figuring out pedals. You can see there's not a lot of room in between the dash and my feet. So it's gonna be a little bit of a challenge. We're gonna have to jiggle in between steering, exhaust, sheet metal, our feet, and try and get this in there. Something we've been putting off for a while is gonna be the transmission. So up until this point, we've been using this placeholder transmission that blew up when I bought it. We bought a new transmission, or new to us, MT82, and if you know anything about MT82s, they're famous for exploding when you shift from first to second. So we're actually going to be taking that transmission fully apart, trying to figure out what parts we have to upgrade, if there's any gears that need to be replaced. We'll probably put that into the next video, and then figure out exhaust, and hopefully get this thing on the road in the next couple of months. All right, well, that'll be it for this video, guys. We got a lot done. We still have a lot more work to do, so make sure you stay tuned. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Oh, and one more thing.